This is the first... Let me mute the volume for a minute so I can talk. This is the first VOD review that I'm going to be doing of the 2 VOD reviews I'm going to do from today's scrims. The first one being Robot House versus Fighting Mongooses on Kings Row, and the other one being Animal Farm versus Fighting Mongooses on Route 66. So this was the one game that Robot House played. And we played for 2 reasons. One, we wanted to practice the cohesion of our dive comp and try to keep things very clean and organized. And 2, I wanted to be able to see how Fighting Mongooses would respond to a team that was actively trying to punish when they made mistakes of positioning, when they made mistakes of staying together. And to sort of give them an illustration of how a dive comp can be played once you have a team that's been together for a while and is more organized. And to put this into perspective, the Scrub Cup started, what, like 2 or 3 weeks ago? So that's how long this team has been playing. Robot House has had a very similar core, although we have some newer people in, for 6 months to a year, depending on the length depending on the particular player. So you can see the organization that you can have if you stick with the same team and play together for a while. So we're running a dive comp on defense, which is non-standard on this map, but it's perfectly something you can do. You can run dive comp anywhere if you want to. If we need to look at the comps for both teams, right? Let me just skip forward to when the round is about to actually start. Also, I do want to be able to listen to your comms. I obviously know what happens in this game because I was in it, but I didn't obviously hear your side. So, okay, this is what I was probably going to go back to Zarya. Let's 5 more seconds. Alright, beginning of the round. As I said, our comp is the standard dive. I assume everyone is fully familiar with how this comp works. You have lots of very mobile heroes. You have the Orb of Discord. You put Orb of Discord on an enemy, and you send your mobile heroes onto them and kill them. And if the enemy team tries to get aggressive onto you, then you just run. And you play hit and run, and you play guerrilla warfare, send all of your guys into their weak spot, and then get out type of style. What you guys are playing is a triple tank comp. These are the tanks you most commonly use in a triple tank. You do it because Zarya Rein has good synergy, and then you just put in D.Va because D.Va OP. And you run these healers, Lucio so that your tanks can have speed to engage enemies, and Moira because she has the biggest heals, and can charge her ult super fast off the tanks. So this is all good. The Hanzo is okay, and I see it used in this a lot, but I don't think it's the best choice. I think that the best choice in this situation is Junkrat. The reason for this is that Junkrat gives you more consistent damage, just larger damage output when it comes to breaking the enemy shield, although Hanzo's good at that. He's no Junkrat. Plus, Junkrat's Riptire is easier to combo with Graviton, and Riptire just charges so damn fast that you can use it and then get it again in the time your Zarya will get Grav. Whereas Hanzo has to save his ult. Plus, Junkrat's Riptire is good even when there's no Grav to combo with it, whereas Dragon Strike is kind of shitty if you don't have a Grav to shoot it into. Enemies will just get out of the way. So that's mostly it. I would strongly suggest the Junkrat. The Hanzo does have the upside that it's easier for him to just one-shot an enemy at the start of the fight, but I don't think that's enough to justify it. Anyway, let's go.
Oh, here comes the pain. Alright, speed is
a chaser.
What the fuck are they?
They're all high
round.
Fuck. Of course they are.
Oh, okay. There.
So you guys seemed a little bit surprised by the fact that we weren't on point. And I sort of see this, because you would expect the enemy team to run a tank comp similar to the way that you are. I actually jokingly said before the map, okay guys, we're running dive even if they pick Kings Row, and then you did pick Kings Row. We could have run mass tank into mass tank, but I don't think it would have been as interesting. So we picked dive. This was a nice arrow by your Hanzo to scout with, though. Backline heroes do position around this area. You should expect to see that a lot if the enemy team has soldiers and Yada, anything like that.
This is so fucked.
Alright.
So what's going wrong here is that you guys are just standing here on the next to the statue, and what you want to do is it doesn't actually even matter what the enemy team is running. You guys are a brawling comp with a lot of powerful close range damage with your Rhine and your Zarya and all that. And you want to go to the point and force the enemy team to come to point. You want to stand on this point and say, "Come at me, bro," and make them come to you. Basically, your execution for this comp, for the beginning of the fight, is just to get onto the point as fast as you can. I wouldn't waste your speed amp, but I definitely use your speed aura and get onto the point quick. Any amount of time that you linger is time that lets us get positioning and surround you.
Evo, monkey.
Oh, we just push point.
There's a tracer behind.
We can if you want. Yep.
Okay, so you did get this idea, but right now, you've made a mistake that's about to get punished. One of your players, it was the Hanzo, went off by himself, and I was standing way through the hotel, and I spotted him, all on that sideline walking, and I called, "BY, let's go get the Hanzo, he's by himself," and we immediately went and got him.
We have to make him drop down.
Yes.
So he's dead, and now me and BY just want to disengage. I actually used my dash. Our tanks are making a mistake here. This is not our usual tank lineup. This is our usual DPS and usual supports, but we don't have our usual tanks, so our tank play is a little bit off during this game. But our tanks did not need to go in to secure this kill, and they're actually putting an unnecessary risk by doing it. This D.Va using boosters to engage is a big mistake, because now the D.Va is going to be stuck in your team and is at risk of getting punished.
Yes. Monkey behind.
That having been said, it looks like some of your team went to point and some didn't, so you got a little bit split. And I think this bubble was maybe in response to thinking that the Lucio was going to be attacked, which actually is not unreasonable to think that's what the tanks were doing. But they must have misunderstood our call, and they were trying to help us follow up the Hanzo, but we didn't need to. Obviously, a Hanzo cannot win 1v2 against Tracer and Genji if he's by himself. So we didn't need help.
Get behind.
Monkey.
Alright.
So we're just going to run. In fact, our tanks shouldn't have gone in, and now that they're in, they should be running with more urgency. Because even though we have numbers, we don't need to fight, and we don't want to fight in a narrow corridor like this. Because this is the only way that we can lose, is if we fight in a narrow space that doesn't suit us.
Can we get any of them?
No.
Behind us.
I don't know why the Lucio went into now. This doesn't really make sense. The only play that we were supposed to make here is our DPS go in and pick off the person that's alone, and then we disengage. Everybody else on our team could have just been AFK, and it would have been fine. So you guys are trying to pursue enemies that you can't pursue because they have mobility. And this leads into another mistake, which is watch what happens.
Alright, come on up.
I say to BY, the Hanzo is probably coming back from spawn right now, and we know his team is over here, and he has to get past us, so let's go and intercept him. So let's see.
Shield's going down.
Rotate D.Va in front.
D.Va?
Oh, they are. Alright, well,
So all this time, again, our tanks really didn't need to be fighting this, because they're giving you guys ult charge that they don't want to be giving you. We don't want to be giving you charge for Grav or Earthshatter, whereas our tanks building ults doesn't matter, because their ults are mainly just for survivability. We probably should just full disengage this and wait for the DPS to come back. There's a sort of cohesion thing happening. BY and myself are operating as a unit, getting picks, which is preventing you guys from actually being able to fight. The rest of the team just needs to make sure you don't go to point, which you aren't doing, so they don't have anything to worry about.
well, Genji and Tracer are spawn, so fine.
Yeah. I'll wait for him to finish talking. So, we spawn camped him. The thing that I want to illustrate here is that you can't assume that areas are safe, especially if the enemy has really mobile heroes and you have an immobile hero that has to make it back to regroup with your team. You have to make sure that someone on your team is covering them and helping them, or else an enemy DPS flanker can go and kill that person. It's especially important if you're running something like a Mercy or Zenyatta that's more helpless than a Hanzo, but even a Hanzo, you see, because we work as a team and go 2 against 1, we don't have to worry about losing. Yes, he could one-shot us, but that's putting a lot of pressure on him to hit a one-shot on somebody. And if he doesn't, he's going to lose. So now we pretty much have you right where we want you. Because you don't have your DPS, and you're all standing in a big clump, and we can just encircle you. With me on Genji over here, and our Tracer player coming here, and our tanks holding this side.
I'm out of healing. Tracer behind. Tracer behind.
All right, let's go. Let's go for it. Let's go for it.
So you're going in now, but you don't have your Hanzo back, which means that you're 5 against 6, and you're missing your only DPS. When you're running a comp that has a single hero of one role, which it's most likely a single DPS. Yes, there used to be single tank comps. Yes, higher levels, there's single support. But regardless, if you have only one person on a role, that person is super important. Because nobody else is going to be able to pick up the slack for their job. So you really need to regroup with them. Your play should probably be to just get out and get with your Hanzo again. And then remember, once you have 6 people, just rush to that point and put down your flag and say, you have to fight us here.
Alright, let's go.
We're doing a lot of nothing, I think. So like,
It seems like you guys are a little indecisive here, and it might be because you don't have a shot caller, and you're instead kind of like asking each other, like, hey, what do you think? What do you think? Which again, it's understandable when you're a new team, and also makes sense, because at least you're thinking about what your teammates want, right? But what you've allowed to happen, and this is like really illustrating it, is that we can attack you from all sides as you come in. Because you are giving us a lot of setup.
I have a monkey on me.
Oh, that was a good stick.
reset.
Four down. Get out of there. Get out of there.
The biggest issue here is that, regardless of how you specifically got outplayed, you went into the point with 5 people against 6, and you did so slowly, which gave the dive comp lots of time to get their flank set up. If you have 6 people and you speed in and you plant your flag, then it's much harder for them because they have to somehow contest the point while they're fighting you. And it's hard for them to stay alive. You have way more healing. We have only Zenyatta and Lucio, whereas you guys have a Moira. Plus, you have more HP with your tanks. You see what you could possibly have done. But it's a macro thing. It's actually not about the individual plays. Once we kill the D.Va,
so that's my thing. It's like once
we did some damage to her, but we let her go. Oh, sorry. I should let you speak. Because I want to hear the comms. Let's go back.
So that's my thing. It's like once we get up there and we get to our spot.
Get back inside. Back inside.
What do we do then? We just wait.
So this team would really have very little fair counter.
Dumbass, can you scatter inside? They say in a little hidey hole.
In where?
In their little hidey hole up there.
Above
They
the
say-
payload.
Let's just watch more.
Door. I mean, yeah, I can. Just let me.
If you switch to Pharah, it might have been stronger than what you were running. I would still say that the Junkrat is the best option. But it isn't free because we can still Discord the Pharah, and we can still send a D.Va and potentially a Winston into the air, and we can still send a Genji into the air as well. And this map has lots of nice platforms for Genji to stand on that he can use to get altitude to contest Pharah. So Pharah would be strong, but we wouldn't be helpless. It would advantage you a little bit. You would definitely have to switch to a Mercy to support the Pharah, though, or else we would start discording the Pharah and just putting D.Va and Genji onto her every time.
Let me know where they are.
Okay, I'm assuming they're in the same spot. I'm assuming.
I've coalescent. If we can draw them out a little, I can blow that.
Tracer.
So this was a big problem. You had a D.Va that got DMAC'd, and your D.Va went into spawn, and then you came back as a baby D.Va. If you go in with a baby D.Va, then once again, it's 5 versus 6. Because the baby D.Va isn't going to do anything. And once we spotted this baby D.Va, we're going to kill the baby D.Va first to make sure she doesn't get a mech. What you should do in this situation as your D.Va is you should switch off D.Va to any other hero and then switch back to D.Va. And you lose your ult charge, but that's the kind of the price you pay for getting DMAC'd to the end of a fight. Your other option is that when you got DMAC'd, just run into the enemy team, kamikaze, and shoot, and hope that they are forced to kill you. Because starting a fight as Baby D.Va is going to be a big problem, because your team doesn't have a D.Va mech to do actual D.Va things, and the enemy team is going to focus you, and you're going to have only 150 HP, and it's going to be hard to live.
Alright, well I have drag.
So QWERTY has put the Discord on you, so now you really only have about 100 HP. And we're just going to try to sneak in and get the assassinate. Oh, it looks like you dodged the orb.
I guess,
But you see the orb? The orb shows our intent. Our intent is to kill the Baby D.Va first. And once the DPS get onto the Baby D.Va, that's it.
They're on high ground.
So the Baby D.Va having been taken out, we know it's 5v6, and then I pull out my sword to finish the fight. The reason I pulled out my sword is because I wanted to get the sword early enough to try to get it faster than your sound barrier. And I didn't know whether you had sound barrier or not, so I decided to go for it as early as possible. I could have held this blade and tried to just have us win, and then traded it for the sound barrier later, but I went for this instead. It's debatable. Also, why did our tanks lose all that HP? I need to watch this. Let's go back.
Alright, well I have dragons. Taking high ground.
I guess,
Was it a scatter? If it was a scatter, I can accept it. If it wasn't a scatter, then they're going to get yelled at. It was a scatter.
I guess,
That was a good scatter to build ult. You might have had dragons already, in which case you're giving our support ult. Anyway, fair enough.
you can go ahead and
They couldn't have
do
avoided that
mark
damage.
Work with it.
They're on high ground.
So when I pull out my blade, I go for the Lucio first, because I want to make sure there's no sound barrier.
And they're diving both.
Alright. Hold
Back
it.
up, back up, back up.
And that will be that. We will snowball. You guys did scatter a little bit in the face of the blade. What you really want to do, you don't want to stand on each other because you'll get cleaved, but you want to make sure that you're working together to focus the Genji down.
Our tanks are just too immobile to get up there.
Yeah.
We
I
have
think
3
we-
ult. Okay, this
I
one.
think we should push that high ground on the right again.
You have 3 ults, but now that you can see your teammate's ult charge, you should know that you actually kind of have 5. Because this is pretty much ready, and he can get this pretty fast if you put on point. I'm interested to see what you guys think the game plan is, but I'm going to repeat what I think the game plan is. Get a point as fast as you can, and then when our tanks have to contest, hammer them with all of this damage. And use your Moira to out-sustain. That's your game plan. With this game plan, you could very possibly win this point.
Should we go high ground? I mean, what are we gonna do up there though?
We can't cross the gap.
Yeah. I think if we go.
You actually can cross the gap if your Lucio turns the speed aura on, everyone jumps. The extra speed from the Lucio aura is enough that you can cross the jump. Just as an FYI. Also, the Zarya can grenade jump over it if you're really good, but you have to practice that. Obviously, Lucio, Moira, Hanzo, D.Va can cross.
Go. Okay, you know
Go
what?
to the
Hold
hotel?
up.
Into the hotel and up the stairs? Can we do that?
Into the hotel and up which stairs? Do you mean this hotel, or do you mean this hotel? Well, let me just watch and see instead of pausing every 5 seconds.
1 minute, 1 minute.
Across.
Delta, call it. Go for it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, let's
Go
go
for it.
left, like circle under left.
If you're going to make a play like this, your Hanzo has to stay. I don't think that Tracer can kill him here, but he's going to get delayed.
Tracer's back here.
Genji's over here.
Going to the hotel is fine, but again, all you need to do is just get into this square. Get your team onto it.
Alright, he's retreated back.
Somebody's up behind us.
So the thing you should think about when you're thinking about how dive comps work and understanding them, especially if you ever want to run your own dive comps, is exactly the fact that I can do this. What Genji doesn't do as much damage as most other DPS. The reason why you have a Genji is because I can afford to stand here, and then when you guys come, I can dash away. If I played, McCree, Soldier, Reaper, really anything, I would have no escape. You guys would chase after me with Lucio wherever I tried to run, and you would kill me. You run the dive because of the power of being able to reposition.
I think.
And again, now witness the angles that happen. You can overcome this because our damage is less than yours, and your HP and healing is greater than ours. But you have to force the issue of making sure that it's all in this little area. Whoops, I don't need that.
Zen's up there.
This beat was used too early. I think you used it because you wanted to engage, but you can't really force us to engage. You have to wait until our tanks drop, and then you could use beat. Or more importantly, you should wait until your team has taken some more damage before you do. This beat now is going to be pretty much wasted. It definitely had to be used later. If our team was running a mass tank comp and we were sitting on point, you could beat into us like this. But we aren't really forced to drop. We can contest the point by just having Tracer or Genji put their toe on it and then running away. So we don't have to fight until the beat ends. And it only lasts about 5 seconds anyway, so we could also just give up the point for that long. It wouldn't cost us anything. So indeed we do. We can give up the point, and your whole beat goes away, and you don't have a tick yet. Our tanks now need to contest. Two major errors are made by the tanks in doing this. And this might be more for the Robot House people to learn, but because this is a bit higher level, but this is very useful. This will be very useful to you guys as well, to understand this. The only thing that the tanks needed to use to get to the point was their W key and gravity to get down. But instead, D.Va has committed her booster to go to the point, which means that once D.Va's on point, she has no booster to escape if she gets low. She could use her booster to back out and get some healing. Also, our Winston has used Primal Rage for no reason. And this poses some problems. One, he won't have Primal Rage later if he needs it to heal himself or to make a real better play with it. And two, he won't be able to use his bubble if he wants to put a bubble down because he's in Primal mode, you can't put a bubble down. Also, he could just be shocking cleave damage onto this whole team that's standing there, but he can't do that either. So this Primal Rage is very bad, and I don't understand why it was used. And, oh, we should talk about the sound barrier as well. But, so, right here, this Earth Shatter is illustrative. If you weren't in Primal, you could have placed a bubble to stop the Earth Shatter. But you couldn't because you were ulting. This is a good Earth Shatter, though. You could probably use it to kill the D.Va, except that we would trade back with our sound barrier. The other thing about the sound barrier is, yep. So, when there's two things wrong with this beat. First of all, why did you drop from the window and press Q when you could have dropped and waited until the last second to press Q? You're giving them this whole window that they know the ult is coming that they could stun you. I get that you are maybe going for style points, but this is extremely stupid. He could have Earth Shadowed you as you were coming down. Or like the Hanzo could have headshot you as you were dropping, or like any number of things could have happened. Don't do that, that's really stupid. Also, you didn't know he was going to Earth Shadow when you used this beat, so you're using it for no reason as far as you know. No one on our team is remotely low. In fact, both tanks have their ultimates already. So, these are both bad ults, and they didn't need to be used. I'm going to be much harsher with Robot House people because you guys should know better. This mistake is understandable because he wanted to fight, and he just didn't consider that we didn't have to come to point yet because he's probably never faced a team that would play that way. And this Earth Shatter is actually really good. You just have to now focus someone, preferably the D.Va. Except it does get Earth Shatter, it does get countered with beat, and then he gets killed by a sticky grenade. You could possibly have used your defense matrix or barrier to stop that sticky grenade from killing him, but that's an individual mechanics thing. I wouldn't worry about it too much. You'll get better at it with practice. You are now... Let's see when the Coalescence was used. Everyone is alive, but it looks like the Reinhardt isn't being healed. In fact, where did his HP go? For God's sake. It's probably Tracer. It looks like the Rhine is getting chipped and the Moira isn't healing him. Yeah, the Moira's not healing the Reinhardt.
When
Damn
I'm
it.
grabbing.
The biggest... So, another mistake that was made is that your Moira was not healing your Reinhardt. Healing the Reinhardt is probably your biggest priority. You need to keep him alive so he can be effective. And he could have survived the Pulse Bomb if he was at full HP when it went off. And then your ult might have healed him. Also, you could have had your Lucio ult for that if you hadn't used it early. So this ult was preventable. In fact, you could have prevented it by healing better, you could have prevented it by saving your beat, you could have prevented it by matrixing it, you could have prevented it by eating it, and you could have prevented it by shielding it. Everybody had an option here. That was not a forced mistake. So now it'll be very hard for you guys to win because you're down numbers, and
In a sec, you ready?
Trying to keep you all alive. Trying to
Ready
keep
to
you
go?
all alive.
Ready?
He ults because he's been demeched and he doesn't know that the fight is lost. Which, you losing only your Reinhardt is still winnable, so I would rate this ult to be okay. Not good, not bad, okay. This Dragon Strike isn't good. There are two problems with it. First of all, you're supposed to be saving it to combo with your Zarya, and you just used it to just shoot at the point against a team where everyone can escape from the point, from the dragon, except for the Zen, but he wouldn't be on point anyway. So this dragon won't do anything, and you've wasted something that you were saving all game to combo with the Graph. You need to save it. Your ult really has no use whatsoever except as comboed with the Graph, which again is why I recommended playing the Junkrat, because if you had used Riptire in this exact situation from the exact spot you were standing, you might have been able to win the game with the Riptire. Or not win the game, that's because you have to do the rest of the map, but you could have taken this point with a Riptire, possibly. But you kind of left your Zarya out to dry now, because he's got nothing to combo the grab with.
Ready to... Oh. Diva.
I don't know why we tranced. Was our Zen gonna get killed? Was our Zen dying? I know that our Zen went low.
Diva.
I guess the trance was used to save the tanks. This is questionable, though. The Diva has self-destruct, and you should use that instead of trance. The Winston isn't that low, and he can escape. Also, he should have had Primal if he hadn't wasted it. And also, you should know that they have a grab that's coming, because they haven't grabbed yet, and you're our ult tracker. So you should be saving it for the grab. As an aside, we gave up a tick. This is a bit of a mistake, but I don't consider it that significant of a mistake. Yes, we could have probably, for example, just let the Diva tank your self-destruct to keep contest, and then self-destructed herself to heal. Or to get your mech back right after you get blown up. But not really necessary. The lesson that you probably want to take here is that it's okay to give up some progress on the point in order to make sure that you win the overall fight and don't lose the whole objective. This is not a good trance, though. Unfortunately, you used your grav while the trance was live. So Cordy made a big mistake by using the trance. Well, Zorflak is Cordy. Zorflak is an alt account of Cordy, who's our teammate. So anyway, she made a mistake by using her trance too soon, but now the grav was used anyway. I think that he probably knows better and wouldn't normally do this, and that it was just a panic decision to use the grav here because you guys maybe you feel like it's your last fight. Let's listen to the comms and see what happens. Because you guys use the two pieces of your combo and you use them separately. When in fact, if you had just given up once things went south and then taken a fight finally with your combo, you would have had a pretty good chance. Because we wouldn't have had our defenses. We used a lot of stuff that we needed to have.
Ult on point.
No shield for it.
Oh.
He self-destructed presumably to get his mech back. Was he dying? No, he self-destructed for no reason. Maybe this was to clear the point, but I don't think this was needed. Let's look at how people died.
No shield, no shield. Shield for it.
The D.Va died because she didn't have cover, and the Zarya died because she didn't have her self-shield up. But the rest of you managed to get cover, and this is actually a nice fade. Here's a higher level play. You guys need to make sure that you get another fight, and you only have 15 seconds left. You could have actually let yourselves die to it so you'd respawn faster. But that's a bit more advanced.
Oh, how did that kill me? I ducked behind the card.
Guys are getting staggered.
Hey, we got a tick.
Hadram says combo ruined. Yes, this is true. To use these things separately was a mistake. He now goes Junkrat. It'll now be hard for you to reach the point with only 10 seconds. You really have to switch to a Tracer in order to just touch the point. It doesn't even matter if you can't play Tracer. You have to just use Blinks to touch the point and then recall away, just to give your team time to get there, to start the overtime meter. But Robot House knows that this is the case for you, so we're going to immediately charge forward, leaving only the Zen behind.
On there, Victor.
And we're going to
How'd they get you there?
try to block you, which will happen.
Okay, so
So these are the main things that I would illustrate that are important. You guys did an okay job of grouping together, except occasionally that someone would wander off and would punish that. The grouping together actually wasn't the issue. The issue is that what you needed to do to win was very simple. Go to the point and force the issue, and if it fails, keep trying it again, and eventually get your combo off. What you instead did was you kind of overthought the whole process of how you were going to engage. And you got very distracted by the angles that the enemy team was taking surrounding you, and by the fact that we were positioned in high ground and in weird places. And you have to accept that the dive comp of the enemy team can do that, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. They will have positioning. What we traded to be able to take positioning from you is our ability to heal as much as you and do as much damage as you, and to have as much HP as you as well. So you have those 3 advantages, and those 3 advantages only matter once you get on the objective. Almost all of the times that we won, we weren't on the objective. The one moment that it got close, and where you got a tick, was when you actually got to the point. So if you want to run triple tank, get to the point. And then make them fight you. That's the biggest lesson. The other lesson is stay together, really stay together, which means that the frontline people need to be careful that make sure you're being followed, and the backline people need to follow. And then, lastly, save your ults for combo. It's a pretty classic mistake when you're still learning the game to use an ult after a fight is already won or lost, and just with experience you'll learn not to do that. But absolutely focus on that with every ult you make. Whenever you press Q, think, is the fight already lost? Is the fight already won? And if you have an ult that's part of a combo, that you need that combo to win, save it. Save it no matter what. Make sure you do your combo. At the very least, practicing getting your combo off and getting better at it with your teammate is far more important. I'm going to split this into separate videos to prevent lag so that we can look at the other round. So I'm going to stop and resume.